Hello, hello, hello. I'm Sam.
I'm Brandon.
And this is the Middleton Methods podcast, where you get to be a fly on our wall to get practical tips, gain insight, and laugh at our expense. So welcome.
What's up, everybody?
Whew. Well, let's...
You got like that stressful sigh every time. It's like your cue.
I think it's a combination of, all right, we're getting started on the podcast. Got the intro out. It's time to move on. And then a little bit of like, where am I going with this right now? So
let me tell you, I am like excited. This has been there's definitely a week to remember.
It is. And I think that's the woof is always like, okay,
so
we're getting
much.
into Middleton madness. And there's just like but the madness is over for that one specific scenario, right?
It's been a great week.
It has been a really awesome week. We had a wonderful...
One for the books.
Wow.
For the record books.
We had a really awesome Easter weekend. I mean, the whole weekend was just amazing. But it was also crazy, so...
Like anything that's amazing comes with work and craziness,
Ding,
right?
ding, ding. Do you hear the dryer? Go get the laundry.
I'll get right on that.
So let's start with the crazy, insane fact that Brandon was gone. Mm-hmm. He was gone from Sunday to Thursday. He was
they
out
remember
of town.
The madness from last week?
from not packing his suitcase until 3 minutes after he was supposed to be out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
So there was that madness. So let's just picture this now. He was gone all week. He got home Thursday, and we had Thursday to catch up on him being gone all week before it was Good Friday.
No sleep. I got off the plane and...
Oh, that's right. Took
right
a red eye, got off. We had jumped right into basically back-to-back meetings. Mm-hmm. And then here comes Good Friday, and guess what? The kids don't have school, so you know how that goes, little to nothing.
And church was on Friday instead of Saturday.
Yeah, we moved church to Friday because we had friends coming over on Saturday. So we had the kids home all day, and then we went and had this wonderful service, and they did dinner in the courtyard like we always do, like our little family date night. And then on Saturday, we had the largest party we've probably ever hosted at our house, which was amazing. I'm not
so awesome. But
yes, I sigh a little bit, and it's because that stuff, it takes a lot to be a host. Who out there has hosted a party and knows it takes a lot of work. So what I do appreciate about all our friends in this area is they are so big on potlucks that now it's I don't ever feel like I have to do it all anymore, where I used to feel like I have to make all the appetizers. Everybody shows up later at different times. In order to make sure all the food's here, I better be the one to get it done. Funny enough, I was the last person to have my meal ready because it took for way longer than I thought it was to cook. Shout outs to Kamala, our friend that she put me onto this little bake dish that's super easy to throw together.
An egg souffle.
Yeah, it's something like a little egg bake, strata, whatever it is. Anyway, it's delish, and we made it, and it was a big hit at the party. But we had I want to say 15 to 20 adults, and then another 15 to 20 children. I'm
pretty sure the kids had us outnumbered.
They may have. There were a couple adults that came without kids, but most everybody that was invited were families. We really tried to keep it to the families to come and do this big Easter egg hunt. So we positioned it to Peyton and Max, basically this is the present that you're getting for Easter this year.
No chocolate bunnies this year.
Yeah, you're not going to have some basket full of candy. We're just throwing you a huge rager for Easter. So we had all their friends over, except Juliana. If you guys are listening, Dennerts, they were very upset that Juliana was not coming and talked about it all week long. But
you were missed.
Yes, very much. And we had this huge Easter egg hunt for the kids. It was so much fun. So originally, we went to the store, maybe it was the Saturday before Brandon was supposed to leave town to go get some eggs. And I was originally just going to go by myself. Everybody wanted to come and drove me nuts the whole time in the store because I couldn't think through what I needed to get. So I thought at the time we didn't have as many RSVPs than people that ended up showing up. So I got 75 eggs, and instead of filling them all with candy, I bought little toys to put in each, tchotchke stuff to just put in each egg. But then as the week went on and more people said they were coming, I started to do the math and I'm like, Brandon, there's like 4 eggs per kid. This is going to be the saddest egg hunt ever. So I went back to Walmart while he was out of town. And then he came home and helped me fill all these eggs with candy this time, reluctantly. But I ended up buying another, 250 eggs. So we had like 325 eggs for these kids.
We were packing eggs at 2 o'clock in the morning, for the record.
We were, thank you for your help. Thank you. We did go to bed very late. And then we basically got home from church, put the kids to bed, went out on our new patio furniture that got delivered right on time for the party. I mean, you're talking like it got delivered. We went to church. We put the kids to bed. We finally sat on our furniture for the first time to pack up, 250 more eggs with candy and, enjoyed conversation, had a great night, but then had to wake up early with the kids, had to get ready for the party, and then everybody started showing up because we did a brunch, so everybody started showing up around 11. In fact, actually, one person came early. They showed up at 10, and I wasn't even dressed. I'm like running around the house in my underwear, like, oh my goodness, the doorbell just rang. I totally freaked out. It was crazy. So the party was amazing, though. We just have really, really good relationships in our life. Like, we just made that decision that we wanted to move back to Florida and wanted to be around more like-minded people. We've been wanting to come back to Tampa for a really long time, and we finally pulled the trigger and just had the mindset that we were going to work on our relationships when we got down here. And just having the mindset, when you believe something's going to happen, it starts to come to fruition because you make it happen, right? So just like coming down here and then hearing our friends were saying the same things. They're like, we really want to work on our relationships. We've been so busy in our business. And we're like, man, it's like, could all the pieces be in place the right way or what? So
just a quick shout out for the Middleton Methods podcast, episode 10, if you want to go listen back. It was all about relationships.
Oh, nice. There you go. So anyway, the point was we just have such good relationships. So it makes like these times that could totally be madness. Like I used to seriously like want to cry at the fact of like hosting anything, even if it was only one other family coming over. I would always tell Brandon, like, I don't really want to do it. Like that's way too much work and blah, blah, blah. But really it's the relationships. I did not mind having all those people over because we had so many good people under one roof. It was amazing. So
it really was.
I make that madness not sound so mad, but it was legitimately crazy. Let one more quick thing, and then we'll move on to our, our main meat of the day here. But it's a little scary to have that many little kids running around, and like when I don't see the kids, I'm assuming they're with you, and I'm hoping that they're with you, but I'm not quite sure if they're with you. So I freak out a little bit. Then if I see you come in the room and like Peyton, I don't worry about as much because she's a little older and she's a little more mature. But if you come in a room without Max, I really start to get nervous. Like, where's my little boy? So that makes me scared. But then there's like, it is no offense to any parents that were over here because everybody did check in for the most part. There's plenty of adults around to keep an eye on kids, but the adults that don't ever go check on their kids, like they're like freedom or whatever's going through their head, but like they come over and they bring their kids. Yes, but they just assume the kids are behaving perfectly or doing what they're supposed to be doing or what, or they just don't care. Well, I don't know what it is, but they never check on the kid the whole time. That makes me nervous. It makes me nervous because I have this need to like go check on my children. But I think that's maybe just me.
It's definitely just you because I'm like, there's plenty of adults here. They're in a fenced-in backyard. They'll be fine.
Oh my gosh, no way. It freaks me out. Max is only 2, a little over 2 years old. He's still my little baby, and until...
Sounds like you got a little bit of fear.
Wow.
Smooth transition.
Good leeway into today's topic, which is, you guessed it, fear. So we have a quick clip to play for you before we get into...
Oh, you got that, DJ?
This topic. I do. I have it. Are you ready for it? I guess let me turn up.
So hey, hang on. You guys set the stage.
Here.
Set the stage. So why are we talking about fear? Why is it important for us to really hit on this very popular? Probably. I mean, fear is just.
I ain't scared. You tell me. I said I ain't scared.
Because fear is, no matter who you are, fear is a part of everybody's life.
Yes, even as we've become more successful, any decision we make there's always like the what if or whatever in that scenario. And that's all fear talking. So it's a really, really common thing that pops up daily, weekly, whatever.
I was really excited to talk about this week because
yes, he was.
Fear is definitely something that earlier on, we'll share some examples, some stories. It's a place where we sat a lot longer than we do now in later years, right? Like, I know you can probably relate to being fearful about many different things, and the quicker you can just recognize the fear and then just move on, the more positive things start happening. But
yeah, so I guess this is just like a shout out to anybody that maybe is finding that they don't have to necessarily be new to being an entrepreneur or like new to this concept at all, but if they just feel like maybe they question a lot of things in their life still or whatever, like this is the perfect podcast to just kind of like realize why you need to push past that a little bit faster. Because exactly what Brandon said, like if we had somebody give us that little extra push years ago and said, stop being like such chicken, you know what, and just start taking more action and don't be so nervous. Like we had so many fallback plans when we were younger. Like we could have moved in with family and done all these different things if things didn't work out, and yet fear still held us back so much. Where would we be today? Not here though, and I like our life, so I'm okay.
So if you've been afraid of failing, been afraid of looking foolish, if you've been afraid of getting hurt emotionally, physically, if you had any of those fears, this little clip I think will help. We'll link to it too. I got like 5 of these things. I just love them.
Roll it.
The others were afraid to take a chance on themselves. The others couldn't see themselves beyond that company. They couldn't see life after that company. The same reason that people stay in relationships where they're abused or they're unhappy or it's unfulfilling, they can't see themselves beyond that relationship. They can't see themselves enjoying life without that person. They think that this is all that they can do. The same reason that people get stuck at a certain level in life, they can't see things being better for them. And they think that this is it and this is all they deserve. This is all they've ever seen. It's been passed on to them. And they think that this is it for them. Oh no. I was looking what Dr. Blanton, Smiley Blanton, who is a colleague of Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, what he said about fear. He said, fear is the most subtle and destructive of all human diseases. Ladies and gentlemen, fear kills dreams. Fear kills hope. Fear put people in the hospital. Fear can aid you. Fear, ladies and gentlemen, can hold you back from doing something that you know within yourself that you're capable of doing, but it will paralyze you. And it seemed like you're in a hypnotic spell. And I ask you a question, what is the benefit? What's the benefit of allowing fear to hold you back? What's the benefit of giving up on yourself? Of not stepping out on life and taking life on? What is the benefit for you? What's the plus in that? That's one of the things I had to ask myself. So I didn't want to make any mistakes. I wanted everybody to like me. I wanted to be perfect the first time I did something. It's not going to happen. You're going to make some mistakes. You're going to hurt some folks' feelings. You're going to create some enemies whenever you decide that you want to begin to take life on. You've got to ask yourself, how long am I going to allow this to hold me back?
All right, I'm ready to go run through a wall. Wow.
You're silly. All right, so you heard it loud and clear. Fear, 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 fear. It is something that holds more back than others.
But everybody's got it, right?
Yeah.
I feel like once you know that it's not. I think some people worry that it's like abnormal to be fearful, or like there's
it's
something
not
wrong with them.
Abnormal, but if you, it's not abnormal to have fears. But if you can't recognize what creates the fear to stay clear of it, then that's where you start to get yourself in trouble. So I found this amazing article on businessinsider.com, and it's titled 7 Fears All Successful People Must Overcome. And these are legit ones. So it's a really short article. What I want to do today is something a little different, babe. I want to kind of just like read these sections to you, and then we'll reflect on them because it's pretty quick.
Sounds great.
All right, so number 1 is the fear. What we're doing right now is we're going through all the fears that are legitimately holding back us from moving to the next level, the things that we all need to be breaking through and recognize to push through to the next level, right? So here's number 1, the fear of criticism.
Criticism.
Okay. You're the fear of what other people think and say about you. Many people are afraid to live their dreams for fear of what others may think and say about them. Recently, I received a letter from a college student. My parents want me to finish my master's degree, but I'm ready to start my own business, he wrote. They would think I'm crazy if I dropped out now. What should I do? This is a common theme for many people, but making decisions based on what people think, even close family and friends, will debilitate you for the rest of your life. Instead, think about what these same people would say if you did achieve success. I'm going to stop it there.
That sounds like the fear of regret versus the fear of failure.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. I think that goes a little deeper when you're talking about the fear of regret. This is just pertaining specifically to what other people think of you. But
okay, gotcha. Right.
So
we did that with school. How many times? I mean, we were doing our night classes, and we were humming and hawing. Like, we got into the first year of school, and that exact same thing happened, right? We were like starting to have some success in the business and starting to realize school really wasn't the path that we wanted. But we probably hung out there for another 6 months to a year before we were like,
bunk
and I remember my grandfather was the big one for me because he was helping a little bit with school, and like he went to college and, you know, became a veterinarian and was like very big on school. So and I never want to let my grandpa down.
Yeah.
And I remember being worried about that for a little longer than I needed to. And then come to find out, when I finally told him, he was like, hey, you want to do something that I've never done before, so who would I be to judge you? Basically, he was like, I can't tell you you're making the right or wrong decision. You just have to be confident in what you do.
Because he was an amazing man, by the way.
Yes.
So, of course, he would say something like that. But not everybody is that way, right? There's other family members that we've had, for instance, that are the complete opposite. And even though, like this article did say, right, basing it on what other people think, like what would they say if you did achieve success? Well, you want to think that they're going to be proud of you, but that's not the reality. Some people have their own fears that hold them back, and it stirs up and creates a jealousy as you start to form more success, and you just have to be okay with that. You have to steer clear of those negative people, whether they be coworkers, family members, friends, whatever it is. Like, you just have to realize if you can't change the people around you, then you need to change the people around you. Okay. Does that make sense? Like, I know you understand that, but for everybody else that's listening, what that means is if you can't change the people around you by inspiring them or...
which doesn't happen very often,
no, it doesn't. Then you need to change the people around you. That means change your inner circle, change the people that you hang out with, go hang out with better people.
And if that may be more difficult, right? Like, I understand if your friends are your friends, they don't necessarily have to be your business friends. They don't necessarily have to support you by bigging you up and like giving you props about everything that you're doing, but they just don't have to tear you down. So now they may have their thoughts about you, they may have their criticisms, but if they're not sharing it with you, that doesn't mean you have to change who you are. But I love the saying that what other people think of you is none of your business. So even though, you know, your mom might kind of look at you some kind of way when you're talking about this next business venture you're doing, or your friends might kind of have that little smirk when you're all hanging out, but nobody wants to talk about it because they don't want to offend you. You know how you can read people and like, oh, I know what they're thinking. They think this is just another thing, whatever. Just stop that. Like, get that out of your head, because again, what other people think about you is absolutely none of your business. And the faster you realize that, the more that won't get in your way anymore.
Yeah, but it is overall just a really good feel-good for me personally. Like, I'd rather just go be around people that make me feel good. So there's still people, and I agree with you, there's people in our lives that do stick around that don't necessarily give us their judgment or their opinions on things, right? Or some people that are completely supportive of us, but we don't necessarily agree with everything they do in their lives. And what we've done to overcome that and still, you know, keep those relationships intact. I mean, there's a love that I've built for some of my friends over the years, and I don't envy their scenarios. I don't envy their mindsets. I don't want to be in their positions. They choose to live the life that they choose to live, and I have plenty of opinions about it, but I just keep them to myself because it's not serving that person for me to try to butt in. If they really want help from me, so I'm looking at this from the other side of the fence right now, I could easily be one of those negative people to them, right? But I'm not a negative person. So instead, I keep those things to myself. If they ever really want my opinion, they do come to me. And let me tell you what's so funny. When you start to adapt that kind of mindset, like I did, those people only come to me when they really want to hear the truth about a situation. Right. Like when they're ready, they know they need to make a change, then they come and talk to me about things. And it's funny. I mean, I'm 100% of the time, I will not talk to friends about certain situations, and I know when they're ready to really make a move, because then they'll come and say, can I have your opinion about something? And I'll always be like, are you sure you want to hear it? And they're like, yep, that's why I brought it to you. And so it's just funny to kind of just think about that real quick for a minute. There's also the second one, which is the fear of poverty. So you ready for this?
Oh, God.
This is a painful one for myself and Brandon, because we really did get I mean, even today when we make decisions, finances is not as heavy on our hearts as it was when we were younger, because there's bigger things on our hearts now. But it's not like
we've created a sense of security that we didn't have in the beginning.
That's true. But the fear of poverty is a real deal, right? Many people are stuck in survival mode. This person in the article said, quote, I'm 26 years old and I'm trapped in a cubicle for 40 hours a week. I pay the bills and live an average life, but I know I can have a better job and reach my fullest potential. I'm tired of being bored and I want to use my gifts. However, I'm afraid that I'll run out of money. What do you suggest?
Break out.
So what it goes on to say is the fear of poverty can be crippling. However, this young man did express in his email that he had $10,000 in savings, which would be enough to help him quit his job for a few months and look for his dream occupation or business. Now, we've talked about that before on a previous podcast. I wouldn't be able to recall which one, but just like when people want to take action or make moves, like how much do you have saved? How much are your bills?
You can do your best to make a responsible jump so that fear is less. But I mean, you and I have done it in the past where we had savings and we made a big business change, and then we watched, our savings go down every single month, and we focused on that instead of focusing on, we focused on that fear instead of focusing on the upside, on the opportunity, on the positive, on the creating, on the, we were focused on the wrong things, right? When we were first in real estate. So that fear is real. And the reality is there's never really security. And you just kind of have to kind of accept that. But for me anyway, the fear of poverty has always been so strong. I use it to force me to do things I don't always want to do.
Yeah, it's interesting because I just had a conversation with my girlfriend recently, and she's very successful as well. We're best friends, and she's thinking about making some big life moves right now. And as we're talking about stuff, I don't know, I guess just what's going on in the world came up. We were talking briefly. We have totally different political views, so we don't talk too heavily on politics and stuff. But she made like a light joke, half serious, that if anything gets too bad, her and her boyfriend would probably move out of the country back to his home country of England. And I said, well, don't leave until you call me because we'll all go together. And she was like, oh, if anything ever got really bad, that's what we would do, right? We wouldn't stay somewhere where we were putting ourselves in jeopardy. Well, in the past, I would have been fearful to do that. We have actually talked with previous presidencies and stuff like that, how the world... Hold on, I'm getting there. Let me finish, baby. How the world can change so quickly. And like we thought about like Costa Rica and stuff, or not Costa Rica, Puerto Rico and stuff one time. But there was always this fear of like, well, how would we have business outside of the country? We've never moved. Like we've always been within the U.S. and had networking meetings and stuff like that. And what ended up coming out of that conversation was I was like, we have a skill set now so I used to have like this huge fear of poverty, but now we have a skill set where we could literally go anywhere and rebuild our life if we had to. And just having that conversation with her, I went like, yeah, never leave without letting me know. What if we need to go with you? Like, I know if we put our minds together, no matter where we were, we could make success happen. And that was like a big eye-opener for me. I mean, this conversation literally happened like a week and a half ago. And it was amazing because I thought, wow, like I used to always fear the loss of money and I don't even fear it anymore. Now, like...
But that comes through action and experience over time.
Over time, right.
And, so if this young person who's, been stuck in their job, as they take that risk and overcome those fears over and over and over again, it's like a muscle. It becomes easier. It becomes stronger for you to be like, oh yeah, I'm fearful. But instead of hanging out there for 6 months, a year, a lifetime, you realize, okay, I'm fearful for the day, or I'm fearful and then now let me move forward and take the necessary actions.
Yeah, and one more quick point on this before we move on. The article says, which I know you'll love this line, too many people settle for mediocrity. Oh my God. Can you just say it for me? I can't say the word.
Mediocrity?
Yes. I don't know why I can never say that word. I sound illiterate. Because they think they must survive instead of thrive. And that is that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, how many times were Brandon mentioned a minute ago that we were focused on like what we could potentially lose. But at the end of those conversations, after like maybe weeks of having them back in the day, I mean, we used to have these conversations about money for weeks and weeks. Brandon would just go, I just need to go make more money. I mean, that's the end of it. So what are we doing to do that? And that was always his response. And when we were doing that over and over, you know, now we have those conversations a lot quicker. Mm-hmm. But remember that? Like you would eventually get to the point where you're like, I'm just going to go make more money, babe. That's it.
They say it's not people that aim too high and miss. It's people that aim too low and hit.
It, yeah.
And I think that's a big part of the problem early on. Where we're like, I just need to make enough to quit my job, or I just need to. We did all of our math, all of our planning, all of our business scenarios. Like, oh, should we do this business or this or that or the other? Around like, we just need to be able to, make $4,000 a month. Well, the problem with that is you failed before you even started, because all you're thinking about is yourself, and all you're thinking about is this low goal where you aren't forcing yourself to think of adding higher value, right? You're only thinking about the minimal and scarcity, and that doesn't leave much room for error. Whereas if you think bigger and you you go for more, then...
Yeah. Like we have to start thinking about when we make decisions, it's not just about us. We have, multiple staff members and roofs over their heads. And, at the end of the day, if it had to be us, then that's fine. But we don't
read that last part back to me again.
Okay. It says, too many people settle for mediocrity because they think they must survive instead of thrive.
Yeah.
The fear of poverty should never.
I don't know if you're going to share this in a minute, but if they say people die at 25, but wait to be buried.
Yes.
No. But that's.
I'll move on.
That's real. If you're willing to settle, you don't want to be willing to. You're basically settling for what? Settling for average. Settling for, a paycheck. That's not living. You're alive, but you're not living. I know it sounds cliche, but I would rather die than live. Right. So even. Yeah, taking the risk.
Which is moving on to number 3. So I'm going to interject for 1 minute because we're not going to go back to the fear of poverty now that we move on to the fear of old age and death, which sounds kind of like a old age and death, like we're in our 30s. Why are we thinking of old age and death right now? But it's real. And there's a certain age where many people quit at life, which I thought, wow, that is so true. So, and who would have known it? But Benjamin Franklin, like way long ago, said most people die at 25 and are buried at 75. So I read this to Brandon before we actually started recording the podcast because I was like, whoa, this sentence is crazy. We got to talk about this. So for some people, this metaphorical death, when they decide to settle for a mediocre lifestyle, comes earlier than 25 years old, right? These people can't figure out that they can't make it happen, so they end up quitting in advance. Fear of old age can also be harmful when a person has to go through a major career transition. The thinking often goes something like this. I'm 46. How do you expect me to learn about real estate if I've been in health insurance all my life? Plus, it has to work out perfectly, otherwise I won't be able to support my family. In the end, however, age is far less important than your belief in yourself.
I just don't even know what this is.
You're reflecting. I know that was like a mic drop moment. They really said it right there.
Yeah, the whole too old to start. We've heard the Colonel Sanders reference before, right? He was like 100 years old before he started KFC. We just watched awesome movie.
Yes, this movie. And CJ, I know you're listening. Yeah, you are not wasting your time. Go watch it. The McDonald's movie. What's it called again?
I think it's called Founder. The story of Ray Kroc, who did not found McDonald's, but
did not found it.
Found it from the McDonald's brothers. But anyway, I won't spoil it. But yeah, he was like almost 50.
Find the opportunity, though.
He was almost 50 before he started that franchise.
Yes,
but
and holy man, what a good film. Woo, that was good.
Yeah, that fear. The fear is what is it? The fear of starting too late? What did you say? Fear of death?
Well, yeah, it's just most people just end up settling for a mediocre lifestyle, and they do it a lot younger. So they just accept that this is life. It's what I call the sheeple, right? And what we were talking about in the Katy Perry podcast, Chained to the Rhythm, where people just get stuck in that rat race and they accept that this is life and they don't want to move forward on it, and they don't think that they're capable of better or whatever the thought is going through their head, and they just get stuck at mediocre. And this happens at a really young age. So it's not only the fear of actually like physically becoming old and wrinkled and dying, it's more like you fear the success and you end up dying at a young age, even though you're not, physically dead yet.
Yeah, and I had both of those fears with my mom dying at 42, right? I quickly saw that was going to be something that my mom wasn't healthy, but it wasn't expected, right? We thought she'd live an old age, but not necessarily have a very comfortable life, but she wasn't going to leave us. But, the fear of death was very real. I knew it could happen at any time. And what was the other fear? Oh, fear of settling. Settling wasn't an option because, I just got to get on a little bit of a soapbox. We live in a free country where people kill to come here. And I know we've probably all heard it before, but people literally risk their lives to come here. And we have so much more, as much as we can complain about this country, right? But I think about not only the people that sacrifice at war and that sacrificed before the U.S. was founded and all this stuff, but just thinking about my mom and what she sacrificed so that my brother and I could have opportunities, right? Thinking about my grandfather and my grandmother and how they worked their asses off and they, did everything to sacrifice for my parents. And the thought of me just being mediocre is like a punch in the gut to those people that I love and respect. So I just felt like, one, I gotta hurry because I could die at 42, right? And two, I was so fearful of letting down the people that sacrificed for us to have these opportunities that, it'd be like a slap in the face. So it's just a different way of looking at that fear.
All right, so moving on is the fear of failure. This is when most people ask the what if question, except typically they phrase it in a negative way, such as, what if it doesn't work? What if no one likes it? What if it fails? This is going to be where I know you're going to hit it home with, well, what if it does work, right?
Thanks for stealing my punchline.
Well, you could steal it back in 1 second, okay? So these are the wrong questions. Instead of thinking about all the ways you may fail, concentrate on the way you may succeed. Take it away, Brandon.
No, you just hype that up way too much. Yeah, it's really that's it. You just said it. It's the fear of regret over the fear of failure, and the fear of regret has always been stronger, right? What if the kids don't get to live, a phenomenal life? What if the kids don't have greater opportunity than we did? What if our kids have to experience divorce and pain and suffering in ways that we did? What if
we never would have gotten married, right? If you let all those fears hold you back.
What if Sam, leaves me for another guy? What if Sam cheats on me? What if...
These are horrible questions.
Ew. But that's what it takes, right? What if... I love the analogy of like driving...
What if Brandon tells me we have to live in a box? Then what am I going to do? Oh,
we've already talked about it. You'd be right there snuggle up next to me.
I would? But I don't want to live in a box. I'm going to challenge you to never have us living in a box. How about that?
The analogy of like driving down, next time you're driving down the road, right? And there's just that yellow line in between, and all those cars are coming the opposite direction. There's nothing that keeps, there's very little that keeps that car from driving into your lane and hitting you head on. But if you're always fearful of what if you walk outside the door and a plane falls on you? It's just not.
Gosh, honey, these are really terrible things to ask yourself.
Because they're ridiculous. They're ridiculous, but they're normal, and we experience them. So,
all right, not as astronomical as a plane just dropping out of the sky on top of you when you walk out your front door, but what about just if I take this step towards being an entrepreneur, right?
So stop thinking of it like it's a luxury.
We have friends that are scared to take action on certain things or whatever, or they're getting pulled two different directions and don't know which way to go. Well, what if this happens? What if this happens? Well, what if you don't take the risk? What if you don't, right? Then what are you risking of losing on the positive side? And those things should be the focus, which is almost kind of like how we were talking about that fear of losing the money. Well, stop thinking about losing it. Just go make more money, right? It's the same kind of thing. Instead of thinking of what if I don't see success, it's,
I think we had a little bit of...
What does my life look like when I do? I mean, we wouldn't be living in the house we live in or having a big Easter party with amazing people if we just didn't take those risks all those years ago and continue to do them. And the reality is we failed a lot of times.
Right.
We did. I mean, it's not like every decision we made was... I mean, we would probably be billionaires if every decision we made was the right one, right?
I fail every day in the gym.
But I feel like every decision is the right one for us. It takes us to where we are and puts us on the journey we're supposed to be on and gets you to where you need to be. So you just got to remember you're going to fail before you succeed. It's a natural part of life. And not being afraid of that failure is... What is that? You miss 100% of the
shots you don't take.
Right. So if you're not taking those shots, you're not going to be able to fail at them, and you're not going to be able to win at them either.
Yeah, I know it sounds cliche, but it's just 1,000% true. I promise.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to fear of offending others. So it's the kind of the opposite of getting criticized from other people is offending people.
Ooh, that's a big one for me.
Here's what someone told me the other day. I'm not going to call human resources until they call me for the job. Plus, I'll end up offending them, and I don't want them to think I'm too needy. I'll just wait by the phone, and they'll follow up. If I don't get it, then it wasn't meant to be. And anyways, if I call them, it might ruin my chances that I never get the job.
Yeah, I'm just going to be vulnerable and flat out admit that is still a pretty big fear for me.
Okay, so talk about it for a minute. What about it is?
So... life, as we talked about in episode 10,
and I agree,
relationships.
But you are way better, by the way, before you even get started. You're way better than you have been in the past. You used to be such a fear; it would literally cripple you from saying things to people because you were afraid of making the wrong move. Just
like the workout analogy, legs. Not a big fan of legs, so it's a weak spot.
Mine.
It's a weak spot for mine, and I just know every time I go and work it's gonna hurt, and I gotta keep working on it. But the relationships are so important in life and in business, as we went into more detail on that episode. But so it's kind of a catch-22. It's I don't want to risk the relationship, right? Because I value the relationship many times more than I value the business relationship, right? I value the personal relationship. I also am empathetic to other human beings. Like I know a lot of the stuff that we all go through, right? These are all real things that every human being goes through. So even just talking with our employees, I'm sensitive to be too
Right, but I remember always saying to you back in the past when you would be in these scenarios where you would be like almost, you were so afraid of like offending what somebody would say, and I'd be like, no, babe, you're like, we've worked so hard for this, you're worth this, and you're so smart, and it was almost like we wouldn't argue about it, but I used to get so frustrated because I would think, man, you just have such a talent, and sometimes I even had a gut feeling or whatever or just an intuition, right? That maybe those relationships weren't as strong as you thought they were. And I thought maybe that people were kind of overextending their place in the position that we were in. And, it should maybe be a little bit more fair or whatever. I mean, we would work with a client for 4 years and never see an increase in our monthly retainer, right? And it's like most people go to work a job and they'll receive a raise, and
so
here we are, and I'm like,
if you're too worried about offending people, you could be taken advantage of.
Exactly. And what happened is sometimes you went after what you wanted. Like finally we would get to the point where you'd get the courage and you'd be like, all right. And it wouldn't work out, right? And then other times it did, and it pushed us to the next level, and you built that confidence more. It got less about being afraid to lose those relationships and offending people, and more about your real purpose, which was how are you like reaching out to more people and inspiring more people. And I think that fear of offending others literally was holding you back from reaching this like thing you've been going through for the past year, right? Mm-hmm. Like even more than a year, but really in the last year, where you're just like, I have such a greater purpose and message that I need to get out to people. And I believe that the fear of offending people in the past really held you back from seeing this like true calling of yours. So it's like a really beautiful thing to see. But this sentence I think will really resonate with you, since you still feel like you struggle with this one a little bit, and we're vulnerable about it today, then just keep this in mind, and then we'll move on so we don't go too long on this one. So many people are afraid of offending others with their self-promotion for fear that it comes across as arrogance. Mm-hmm. However, no one will recognize your talents unless you show them.
Yes, that reminds me of the quote, Miriam Wilson, right? Our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. She goes on to basically say it's our light or our greatness that fears us more than the fear of failure, and that by shrinking or quieting ourselves, not to offend others or not to look arrogant or not to boast, actually hurts everybody, because when you see someone else doing things great, it inspires you, right? When you watch a movie, when you watch someone in sports and they're just killing it, it gives you a sense of, oh, wow, they can do it, I can too, for most people. So it's like, it's a shame. It's almost disrespectful to not.
But we have even struggled with that with the podcast when we first got started. We didn't want to sound like braggadocious, right? Or like we're in memberships and stuff where we don't really want to like always talk about how much money we're making clients or how well we do in marketing, even though we're really freaking good at it, because we don't want to sound like we're braggy people.
Yeah.
I want to say like a big shout out to people that have pushed us to not be like that. We have a couple of really close friends that have been holding us accountable to step out more. Our mentor has also been doing that, to not be so scared, because who's not hearing our voice when we're not sharing those things? So it's a really good point. Thanks for bringing up that quote, because it was a good refresher, even just to hear that just now. So there's two more. Let's hit these pretty quick so we can get on to your no BS business tips of the week. But the fear of looking foolish. Yep. Many times we look at our wardrobes and say, I won't wear that today. I'll look foolish. Maybe another time. But why not now? We often act as if what we want to do is wrong, but we need to have more faith in our decision-making ability. We need to test our abilities, whether we are going to give a speech, write articles, shoot videos, or anything else. Well, talk about just stepping forward with the podcast, right? Like our first few podcasts, to us now, if we were to listen to them, like we were like, yeah, we got it out. But if you went and listened to it, which please, like, these are so much better. So if you want to, go get the information. There's good stuff in there. But we are definitely seeing a transition from being like shy and afraid to talk and worried about what other people are going to think, basically, right? And looking silly to being more confident about when we sit down now and really just thinking like, what are we going to say today that's inspiring people? And as we're starting to get more feedback, I think this is why it's important to have good people around you.
Cycle.
Yeah, because when there's good people around you, they're going to praise you. They're going to tell you what you're doing right. They're going to tell you what they like to hear. And, you know, we have people giving our podcast shout outs on Facebook. I mean, those things are really, really humbling.
Or getting text message just randomly where someone tells you that, like, something you shared that doesn't seem that big to you really helped them where they're at in life or in their relationship or whatever. So, yeah, it's like shame on you if you don't.
Yep. So time after time, people have spontaneously, I cannot talk at all today. Like, what is wrong with me? I swear, people, I really can read. Deviated from their original plans and meandered their way into success. Well, that's pretty cool. So, all right, finally, the fear of success. Mm-hmm. Obviously, they saved the best for last here. They say too often people are afraid of becoming themselves. They are afraid of their true self-expression, which is what real success is all about. They watch others and say, you know, I could do that too. Hey, you just said that, babe. Or why couldn't that be me? In reality, they are afraid of receiving the same level of fame, wealth, recognition, and love. Many of us were taught that we can never truly be successful in life. Many families operate on the belief system that becoming successful is unrealistic, so they never push their kids. They assume success is impossible because they haven't seen it for themselves. Instead of adopting this mindset, believe that you will achieve massive success down the road. That's a big one. Yeah, it's very well said. I don't think we need to go on too much about that. But I think the part that resonated with me a lot was they have this belief system that becoming successful is unrealistic, so they never push their kids. And how strong and powerful as a mom is that for me? Because my mom literally told me everything that I could not be for whatever reason under the sun when I was growing up. And it was as I'm getting older and more mature and learning so much more about life and the way the mind works and the power of positive thinking and all that stuff, she had all of these doubts and fears her whole life. I mean, she was like so insecure, my mom was, when she was growing up. No wonder why she didn't push me to greatness, because she didn't see it for herself. And I had to go out and find that from other people. Again, I keep going back to the people you're around. I mean, all the way from the Middleton Madness until now, but just keeps coming back to me today. So it's huge in my mind that, you know, the people that are around you are so vital to where you are in success, or how much fear that you feel on a daily basis. So
that's the antidote, right? If you're afraid of those things, the more people that you surround yourself with, and just also they don't necessarily have to be around you physically. They could just be around you virtually, right? Thankfully, the internet, there's all, you know, private Facebook groups and forums. Mm-hmm. And conference calls and stuff that are out there, both free and paid. And also the people that, let's just assume you just happen to have a terrible network of friends and people, and you just are having a hard time finding those good people.
Terrible people around you.
But here's the thing. You can still find those people by surrounding everything that you look at, watch, read, hear, by other successful people, right? So, like, if I, for whatever reason, if we were living somewhere and we didn't have the internet, how would we still surround ourselves with positive people? It would be the stories of successful people that we would read about. It would be the movies or the documentaries or the autobiographies of people who have done it. Like, you surround yourself with that constant evidence and proof that it's not like all successful people are all just other common men and women. They've just figured out, you know, ways to add more value to the world than you have yet. And if you're fearful of getting there, just know that who you are today is not necessarily who you'll be when you're successful. So there's a growing process that'll happen. So whatever you're afraid of now, like, you're going to be a stronger, more confident, person when you are successful, and you won't be fearful of being successful. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I mean, it's kind of like, taking a small commitments lead to larger commitments. Like, what small step can you take today to get one closer to like overcoming that fear? And as you start to do that, you're just going to gain more confidence in yourself and your purpose. And that's what he says at the very end of this article. I'm very highly assuming that this was a man. I think I saw his picture at the beginning of it. So forgive me if it was a woman. At the end of the day, all of the above fears can be overcome by faith and purpose, which to me, I would say sometimes, that could sound so rah-rah if somebody's just starting out, but it really is important. If you know what you want and take the necessary actions to overcome your fears, you will achieve far more in your life than if you are held back by doubt and uncertainty. Yeah. So that's just the way we'll close that out today. It was a really powerful message. Thanks for bringing up fear. I know this was something that was really resonating on your brain and you wanted to talk about, but you got me moving on it once we started getting going here.
Let me just put a little bow in it. Fear is not, people say fear is not real, right? Fear is usually thinking about the future. So we feared a lot of things that actually never actually happened.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, like, I worry about problems I spent years worrying about problems that never actually came to fruition.
Yeah.
So the thing about fear, and I read another article about the scientific, like, the reason fear is in every single human, like, it's meant to protect you. So fear doesn't mean, hey, stop, hey, don't do that. It just means, hey, pay attention. Pay attention. You could get hurt, but that doesn't mean stop. That doesn't mean don't do it. Fear is completely normal. And the faster you accept that, and just keep working that muscle, and when fear pops up, you just crush it.
And crush it. All right. That was good. Thanks, babe. So let's move on to our no BS business tips. We have a few questions that came in that we want to hear your answers on, babe. So the first one is from Bill in Lakeland, Florida, and he wants to know, what do you look for in an ideal business partner?
First of all, Bill, thanks for sending in the question, and thanks for listening. Ideal business partner, 5'4", brown hair, brown eyes.
Thanks, babe.
Name rhymes with
ham.
No, seriously, what do I look for in an ideal business partner? I'm actually not a huge fan of business partnerships, if I'm just being completely honest. The thing with, when you have a business partner, you're automatically splitting profits, right? So, when you're married to your business partner, 50% and 50% still means 100% under one roof. And right, the purpose of a business is to make a profit. That's it. So to be the most profitable, like I have not been a big fan of that. However, I do have business partnerships, and what I have looked for, right, as of late, I've gotten more comfortable with that, and we've just gotten it. So I'll first say this. Sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit. If you're new, a business partnership, like if this is your very first business, you may not want to go into business with anyone else except for, your wife, your spouse, or like family, like true family member, someone that like you trust them 1,000%, and they're not going to grow apart. Like, you don't get into a marriage and think, it might not work out in 10 years, and that would be, like, you don't think that way, right? So that's how I think about a business partnership. It's a marriage, and literally it's a document, and so that's how I look at it. So what do I look for? Someone that I would literally trust with,
So I look for a couple things too, because there have been people that have come across our plate over the last couple of years. One is I want to know what their long-term goals are, because I want to make sure they align with mine. One thing we did for years was make the mistake of working with people that we didn't have the same end goal. And those,
we didn't figure that out
until we served
until
a purpose for each other in that moment or that time period, whether it be for 2 months or 4 years, right? Like, people do come into our lives and serve a purpose, and then we moved on our separate ways. But what we're being more in tune with now, as we start to have even more success, is looking for people that do have a similar end goal, or if they don't have like their own goals necessarily, they're excited about ours, so that they want to come and, you know, ride the wave with us, knowing that they're going to figure their stuff out along the way. So I like that. I also like to look at their lifestyle and how they live their life. Obviously, with our first partnership, if you've heard the podcast that we discussed, our first partner in business, he was extremely, you know, abusive with like alcohol, and he did drugs and stuff, and that wasn't a lifestyle that we agreed with. And ultimately, you know, late nights and all that partying and stuff, like the synergy just wasn't there. And then the third thing I look for is, that was their work ethic, right? So, you know, how are they in their business? How are they in their home? You know, are they like, we're a family now, we have kids and we have each other and we work together. So I really like to work with other people that have a good, solid relationship with their wife. They do treat business seriously. They're not afraid of working. They don't need to, you know, start at 9 and end at 5. Like, those are not things that we do in our household. So those aren't things that I would expect out of a business partner either. You know, I just kind of want somebody that's going to go all the way. And because I have that out of Brandon, I really have high expectations when other people come to the table for us as well. I really expect them to be just as, like, if I'm going to jump, like, in the, you know, the term jump into bed with you and get into business here, like, you know, you better be doing the same. You know, I don't want you to have some girl on the side or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, right. Brandon and I joke about that, like, kind of term all the time. Like, we're talking about becoming business partners with somebody, but they got other things going on. Like, you could have multiple streams of income, but, you know, how committed are you to our relationship? Right? And what we're trying to grow with you. And if that same level of excitement and commitment isn't there, we'll move on from that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they definitely should be someone you can, you know, go out to dinner with the family with, go on vacation with. Like, if there's things about them or their lifestyle or that you couldn't do those simple things, you probably shouldn't, you know, you probably shouldn't be in business with them.
So the next, I hope that helped out, Bill. So let us know if we need to expand on that further. And thanks for sending in your question. The next one comes from Sal in Las Vegas, and he wants to know, what is your opinion of the stock market? Because I think we talk about, I think this stemmed a little bit more off, we talk about real estate a lot and how that's a great way to invest income. But what about stocks?
So I think with any investment, not just stocks, you should have a good understanding of that particular niche, market, product, what have you. And so for us, we just have spent a lot more time getting educated on real estate and different ways to make money and get a return on our investment in real estate. So naturally, right, through education, you become more confident, more comfortable. So it feels like a safer investment. I have friends who invest in stocks in the form of options, and they've spent their 10,000 hours, you know, understanding that, and they feel very comfortable knowing what the market's going to do and when to short something and not. It's not something that even interests me. It's not something that I understand, so not a big fan. So the first thing I would say is just, if you are educated on stocks and you really enjoy stocks, good for you. But overall, my experience with the stock market as a vehicle, it's a place to park your money long term, right? Like, to park your wealth. So if you have a lot of money and you want to put it somewhere and not really have to think about it for a long time, and you don't mind, you know, getting fees and, you know, seeing it go up and down and up and down. Overall, the stock market averages a return, right, over 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, right?
So basically, when we first got started, we kind of did it the wrong way and just...
penny stocks.
Right.
Good old penny stocks.
Well, yes, and even after that, like, we trusted some just, like, regular company guy to tell us, like, put it in these, what they called, like, risky stocks, but they weren't risky at all. We were making, like, what did we make, like, $20 a year or something so ridiculous. So we got off of that stuff for a little while, and that's what moved us into real estate, because we saw such a big return on it. Now that our real estate has been building our wealth. We're looking for new ways to invest as well, and we're going back onto the stocks because
we're not investing in the stock market.
We're doing like
it's venture capital preferred
really
stock.
On this side much, so look at him sounding all smarty pants over there. Venture capitalist preferred stock is what we're doing right now. Did I say that right?
No,
he's shaking his head. He's shaking his head.
Oh, so seriously though, if Sal is asking because he wants to grow his wealth, that's one way to do it. If you're comfortable with parking your money there, it's not like if you put your money in Apple's probably not going to go bankrupt anytime soon, right? Apple's probably not going to crash. In 10 years, Apple will probably still be there and probably still be worth a little bit more than it is today. So it's a way to like set it and forget it in like blue chip stocks or mutual funds or whatever. But it's not a place if someone like my little brother who is like, I'm going to get into stocks, and he wants to use it as a way to quit his job and learn how to trade stocks daily. And that is not something unless you're a complete math nerd and you love being stuck behind a computer with multiple screens and studying that stuff. I'm just not a big fan of the stock market in general. The only thing that we've done in the stock market recently is, like Sam said, we bought into a company when they were raising funds prior to going public, and then just last week the company actually announced and went public, and that's very exciting. But that's different. That's investing before it's on the stock market, because now the stock's already worth more per share than what we pay for, significant, like 10 times more. So I wouldn't buy our own stock in the stock market right now because it's already too expensive.
So expensive, yeah, and those are way riskier because they haven't even gone public, so you don't know if it's going to go public or how long that will take. But that's kind of like the thing of like, so it could be those silly ones that never take off, they never go anywhere, right? But then there's the ones that would make you think, like, if you could have been at Mark Zuckerberg's college when he was, formulating the idea for Facebook, and so many people were laughing about the idea. Literally, a girl that I used to go to school with was asked to invest in it, and she didn't see the value in it and said no. And years later was kicking herself on Facebook, like, I can't believe all those years ago I got asked. So, it's like one of those things.
So invest on the things that you're comfortable with. Don't use the stock market. For 99.9% of people, don't use the stock market as a way to make money in replace of your active income of your job or whatever. But that's all I have to say about the stock market.
So we did have a couple more questions that we could have hit this week, but I need an extra minute. I need like a marriage 5 minutes today instead of a marriage minute. So I'm going to steal a little bit of time from your No BS Business Corner. I'll give it back to you next week. I promise. But I have something a little near and dear and close to my heart. So I wanted a little extra time on our marriage minute. And yesterday was mine and Brandon's anniversary. So happy anniversary again.
Happy anniversary.
I would like to just celebrate all week with you here because we didn't actually celebrate yesterday. We were so busy that we talk about madness again. We didn't even have time to celebrate our anniversary yesterday morning.
We could have made the time. We chose not to because we're going to celebrate for like 10 days probably in some tropical location.
I don't think we're taking off for that long, but that's wishful thinking. But anyway, it was our anniversary. We've been married for 7 years, and this is our 16th year together as a couple. So it's been a long, long, crazy road to take us to where we are. And I just wanted to share the post that I wrote to Brandon on Facebook because it got quite a bit of love on social media. So I figured, what the heck, we'll just share it on. You didn't actually get to hear me read it. You just read it.
You're going to make me blush?
Maybe. I don't know. So I said to Brandon, I love you so much, babe. All those years we lived in the same town, had the same friends, and we had never met. I know for years we would talk about how wild that was, but I know that even in our small little hometown, it wasn't a coincidence we never met before we did. I'm certain God put you in my life when I needed you to be there, to give me something in my life to fight for, to bring me joy, to challenge me, to inspire me. Thank you for showing me the light in a dark time in my life. Thank you for the incredible honor to be your wife. Thank you for inspiring a life beyond just the two of us and blessing me with our amazing babies. Thank you for finding me incredibly sexy, even when I think I look like a cow. Thank you for working so hard for us. Thank you for the ability to work from home with my best friend on things we're passionate about. Thank you for chasing me around the house like a horny college boy, even after all these years.
Gosh.
Yep, that'll be the one to make you blush, but that is true. Sorry for the mental picture, everybody. Thank you for the hugs, the laughs, the tears, the kisses, and the incredible memories. Thank you for this beautiful life we live. Thank you for proving to me that true love really does exist. I will always love you. You have and always will be my favorite. Happy anniversary.
Wow. I'm like yesterday, speechless. Wish I was that good with my words.
Well, you are good with your gestures. He brought me 7 dozen roses, one for every year we've been married. And I made a joke, which I don't think you saw on Facebook, but I was like, I wonder if you're going to like drain out your pockets getting me 16 dozen for how many years we've been together. And I don't think we would have had enough vases for it. But so I'm very grateful for the 7 dozen roses that look beautiful. And they came in like one very large bucket, and he arranged them all for me and everything, so I didn't have to do all that work. So thank you so much.
I appreciate you giving me all that thanks and gratitude. However, it would not be possible, obviously, without you doing the exact same thing. I love the saying that marriage isn't 50-50, it's 100-100, and I think it's more like 100 my side and like 120 your side.
Oh, stop. Thank you, babe. So we'll round this out real quick with a quick resource. If you are smiling right now from all the love, I mean, maybe you're just wanting to shut this off because it's not your thing, but regardless, maybe someday you're going to be there someday, or you're already there and you heard that and you're thinking like, man, how do they get to that point after all that time? Well, I got a little resource that I wanted to send out yesterday, and I did make it available on Facebook. I'm going to give you guys the same resource on our podcast as well. If you head over to MiddletonMethods.com, there is an article that I wrote up called 50 Texts to Make Your Person Smile. And these are, I think the majority of them, if not all of them in some way, shape, or form, are texts that Brandon and I have sent to each other. I wrote in the article, fact. I love when B sends me a text to let me know he's thinking about me. It's so true. Like, I wake up in the morning to a good morning text from him just to start my day. I mean, literally, obviously, I wake up, I roll over, I hit the button on my phone to see what time it is, and I would say a good 90% of the time there's some kind of good morning message from Brandon, and it's really nice to see those. They just make me smile. It really starts my day off well. So if you're
That's because I'm up and out of bed before her, just for the record. People might be picturing us like laying in bed next to each other with our cell phones. Like.
Debatably, though, there is a service called Push Crew, and it does send text messages out. You could totally just have Push Crew running, and you could have all these
schedule it.
You could schedule it and have these all set out for like the next year. So, even if you didn't wake up at 3 a.m, you got options. So morning, noon, night, it doesn't matter. Like there's no like bad time to go tell your spouse or significant other that you're thinking about them. It really does bring a smile to their face, and it's not just a guy doing it to a girl. A girl can do it back to the guy.
I know the guys will appreciate that because it gets challenging to actually think of new things to say.
Yep.
So you can just copy and paste.
So I got a little bit of feedback yesterday that a couple of people were already putting these into action, and they were
that's
working.
awesome.
I know. Like Joyce gave me a shout out today for something. She didn't tell me which one, so I'm thinking hubba, but who knows? Because there are some sexy ones in here. There's some cute ones in here. There's some inspiring ones in here. But I couldn't find anywhere on the internet that had ones as good as mine and as many as I provided for you. So go check them out on MiddletonMethods.com. We wouldn't be the same without you guys listening to our podcast. So thank you so much.
Give a couple people shout outs for our reviews.
We got some reviews this week. So thank you so much for taking the time to go give us reviews. A shout out to Ange, Nikki, Sin,
Ricky,
Nancy, Ricky. Those are like the 5 people just off the top of my head that I can thank, the 5 of like 11 reviews we have. So please do us a favor. Take a minute. Go to iTunes. You have to search for our podcast. And even if you've subscribed for it, you have to go physically search for it in order to leave a review. And click on Middleton Methods Podcast. Leave us a review. 5 stars would be awesome. If you have the time to just write a little message about why you love us, that would be great too, to encourage other people to listen, and subscribe.
apparently that's how iTunes helps us to get this shared and seen by more people. So help us help other couples by getting this sucker shared more.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for being here today.
Take
us out, baby.
Oh, I forgot my little thing.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not being prepared here. All right, guys, listen. What? Marriage isn't perfect? We're not perfect.
Clearly.
Oh my goodness. It's been a long day already.
You're doing great. That's one of my text messages.
Oh, that is hilarious. I'm going to get these canned responses back. All right, guys, listen, marriage isn't easy, and we're not perfect, but we are putting in the work. Yes, I said it, work, to make it work every single day. So take what you want, and what you don't want, don't take.
Just leave it.
Just leave it. All right, guys, we'll see you next week.
Bye.
I can make the pain disappear, and I can erase the past. Oh, I can make the future shine so bright, and I can make right now alright.